Today we are doing lesson 8.2 with math boxes, and we're going to go over the answers. First of all, though, math box 1 was the hardest one. It was the hardest one to do. It was unique in compared to the others because you had to figure out a formula. How did they get this answer? Usually you add, subtract, multiply, or divide. In this one here, the rule is you're multiplying. So to get the answer in here, everyone should write this rule down. Y, how do you get Y? Equals, you take, or actually, Y equals X times 3.5, or 0.35. So that's your rule. You could have said it this way, X times 3500 equals Y. That's the same thing. So now let's go on. 4 times 0.35 is 1 4/10. 10 times 0.35 is going to give you 3.5. Any questions? Now we're going to go to math box number 2. In math box number 2, the first thing you're going to do in 2A is multiply 3 3/10 times 4. So 3.3 times 4. Write this on your paper. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry a 1. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. How many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem? 1. So you need one number in the product. Now we're going to subtract. 15 minus 13.2. Oh, there's an empty spot. Put a 0 above it. Now we have to borrow. Borrow from the 5. It turns into a 4, so that can be a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. Put your decimal point down. 4 minus 3 is 1. And the answer is 1 8/10. All right. Well, in this problem, you have to multiply first. 1/100 times 10 will give you 1/10. Okay, so that's 0.1. Now we add them together. 0.01 plus 0.1 plus 0.01. The hardest part is lining up your decimal points. You're going to get 12 hundredths. Yes?
So how do we know that we do the multiplication first, and if not multiplication, then how do we know what to do first?
You follow the rules of PEMDAS. If there are parentheses, you do the parentheses first.
Yeah, but in the
exponents.
Yeah.
Then you always do multiplication and division, or if the division sign's in front of a multiplication, you divide. The last thing you do is adding and subtracting, or subtract add. If the subtraction sign is before an addition sign, you would subtract and then add.
So in D, we would do 900 divided by 0.3.
Yeah. Yeah. Now in C, we have to do the selfish parentheses. You're going to have 3 2/10 minus 1 7/10. Line up your decimal points. Borrow from the 3. It turns into a 2. 12 minus 7 is what? 5? Yeah. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So now you're going to take 5/10 times 1.5. I'll do that over here. 1.5 times 0.5. Put down a 5, carry a 2. How many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem? 1, 2, 1, 2. And the answer is 75 hundredths. All right, I'm running out of room. I'm going to show the work for D over here in math box number 1. And as was mentioned earlier, we're going to divide first 9/10 divided by 3/10, okay? So everyone show your work. 0.9 divided by 0.3. Oh, there's a decimal in the divisor. We have to move it out. Move it 1. That one's not right. Move it 1. So this is pretty easy. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now we have 8/10 plus a 3. 3 and 8/10. Any questions on how to do that math box? Does everyone have all the work shown on what to do? Very nice. Now let's go on to problem number 3. The spreadsheet shows how Jonas spent his money for the first quarter of the year. That means the first part of the year. So if you take 12 and divide it by 4, it's the first 3 months. So January, February, and March is the first quarter. January, February, March would be the first quarter. So, in which cell is the greatest amount that Jonas spent? Okay, these are called cells, these little boxes, and you would locate it by going through the top and then down. Which cell has the most money in it? D what? Not D1 is the word music, it's D2. So the cell that has the largest amount, $62.50, is cell D2. Does everyone see how we locate the cell? Okay, now it says calculate the values for the cells, E2, E3, and E4. Well, kids, if you had calculators, I'd let you use them, or if we had time for the Chromebooks. We just don't have time for that. So Mrs. Robertson's going to, let's just put the plus sign, and I'm going to give you the sum. So the total for January is $135. Everyone write that down. How did I get $135? I added January's food, movies, and music costs. Now I'm going to add February's food, movies, and music cost. And that is not as much, $85.04. Now for March, food plus movie plus music gives you a total of $125.06. Does everyone have that written down? Okay, so B, we've gotten it taken care of. Now let's go to C. Circle the correct formula for calculating the amount of money Jonas spent in February. Okay, here is February. Which of these formulas will give us the right answer? Which formula will give you the right answer? Is it the first one? Is it the second one? Or is it the third one? Which one? It's the third one. B3, C3, and D3. Good choice. It's that one. Did everyone see that? That's pretty easy, don't you think? Okay. Then it says, explain how you determine the rule for the table in problem 1. Well, this is what Mrs. Robertson did. For the rule on that one, I took, and I found it easier to write this out instead of writing the words out. I tried to get it in as few words as possible. I have 7/10 divided by 2 is 35/100. And I know that 1 5/100 divided by 3 is 35/100. So I determined that X was being, that's a G, multiplied by 3500. So if you wanted to use fewer words, you could say, so X was being multiplied. You could just do put MULP, multiplies, shortcut, by 0.35. I do allow you to do abbreviations. Does everyone have this written down? Okay, I'll wait just a little bit longer. Okay, now you should be on page 354. It says the scale drawing on journal page 355 represents an art gallery. Okay, this is page 355. This is your art gallery, and they have different displays. Okay, they don't have G and H drawn yet, but that's your art gallery. Okay, so now let's go back to the question. The wall in the gallery is 9 feet tall and 8 feet wide. Each square is 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch with an area of 1/16 inch squared. What scale was used to make the drawing? So on that one, the scale they used is 1/4 of an inch equals 4 inches. Okay, 1/4 of an inch equals 4 inches. Write that down.
Okay.
Now it says justify your answer. Okay, so if you count your squares, I think there are 24 squares across. 24 squares equals 8 feet. 24 squares, just draw a square, equals 8 feet. Okay? So if you have 24, 4 inches, that'll give you 96 inches, which is the same thing as 8 feet. Then, 3 squares equals 1 foot. There are 3 squares is 1 foot. Okay? So each square equals 1/3 of a foot. Okay? And what's 12 divided by 3? And that's how we ended up getting the 4. Okay? So if you have 27 squares on the other side, it's 24 squares across and 27 squares down. So if you have 27 squares divided by 3, that gives you 9 feet. All right? Again, I'm trying to do it in as few words as possible, so I use a lot of symbols.
Oh, I wrote it in.
Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. Now, on the next part, I'm going to give you a couple things that'll make it really easy. When you see 3/8, 3/8 is going to be equal to 6. So when you see a 3/8 inch, it's 6 inches. When you see a 9/16, that's going to represent 9 inches. When you see 3/4 of an inch, you're going to use the number 12 inches. When you see 1 1/8 inch, you're going to use an 18. And when you see 1 11/16, you're going to get a 27. Okay? Now, it says use the scale you found in problem 1 in the scale drawing to complete the table. Now, kids, they want you to look at each one of these shapes and do the scale. I'm going to give you the scale for these, and then you're going to do the actual dimensions. All right? Now, it's not going to be that hard because I did the hard part for you. Okay. A's picture, if you go to the other page and you look at the picture, it's 3/4 times, I like to use a dot, 9/16. Got that written down? What number do I use for 3/4? 12. So on this one, you're going to do 12 times, what number do I do for 9/16? 9. See how we're going to do this? I'm going to give you this part, and then you can fill this part in by yourself. Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Good. I thought you would like that, and it'll help us go faster. Letter B shape is 1 1/8 times 1 11/16. C's shape is 1 1/8 times 1 1/8. It was a square. D shape, 3/4 times 1 11/16. E's shape, 3/8 times 1 11/16. And F's shape will be 3/8 times 1 1/8. Now, I want you to use my little code up here, and instead of writing the fractions, you're going to do the actual dimensions. Okay? So do that right now. So here are the answers you should have. Did anyone have any problems doing this? This made it really easy. Now in the bottom part, you're going backwards. What are you going to use for an 18? And what are you going to use for a 9 over here? So here you're going to use the fraction parts here. So what do you use for a 12? What do you use for an 18? Write those down here. Again, using the numbers that are at the top. Complete those. Everyone knows that for the 18, you're going to use 1 1/8. For a 9, I'm going to use 9/16. So for G, it's 1 1/8 times 9/16. For 12, I'm going to use the fraction what? 3/4 times, for 18, what do I use? 1 1/8. Very good. Everyone should have that written down. And we're going to go to the next page. Now, on the next page, you have to draw G and H. You have to go 1 1/8 by 9/16, and this is what your shape G and H will look like. So go on the other page. So G, it's over 2 and a little bitty piece there, and down 4 and a little bigger piece at the bottom. Okay? Got that written down? H, down 3, you're going to go over 4 and about an 8. Okay, this is G, this is H. Any questions? All right, now we're going to go to the next page. On the next page, I want you to go through and read these. Try to come up with an equation, and then I will help you with these in just a little bit. So, the answer to letter A, how much money does Meredith have after 4 weeks? $1.48. Write and Y represent the total amount of money she has. So, the total amount of money is Y equals 100 plus 12. In how many weeks will Meredith have $250 in savings? The answer is 13 weeks. Now, how do we get this answer? This is what you do. Yeah.
How would it be $1.48?
I will show you here in just a moment. Let's get the 13 weeks first, and then I'll show you how they got the $1.48.
Would it be 12 divided by 2? No.
Okay, so y equals 100 plus 12b. Now, kids, you know how to solve the equation. Oh, we're saying y is 250. So we're going to replace y with 250. Now, minus 100 minus 100, you get 150 equals 12 times b. What will undo multiplying by 12? What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. Divide by 12. Divide by 12. And if you use a calculator, 150 divided by 12 equals 13. So you get 13 equals B. All right? Okay. And yeah, looking at my answer, how did I... It's not $1.48. It's 148. Yeah, not $1.48. That was weird. Yes, it's 148. Thank you for catching that. Okay, number 2. If the garden club buys 22 tomato plants, how much money will they have left? Well, if you take 22 times 2, 22 tomato plants times $2.50, that will give you $55. So 200 minus 55, you have $145 left. I have a question, yes. Now, in part B, write an equation to represent how much money the gardening club will have after purchasing Z plants. Let H represent the amount of money they will have. So H equals $200 minus the plants are $2.50 times the number of plants, Z. If the gardening club decides to use their entire budget to purchase starter plants, how many plants can they buy? Well, that means we want it to be 0. H is going to be 0. So, I'm going to do this over here. H equals 0. So we have the equation 0 equals 200 minus 2.5Z. Okay, so kids, we have to make this equal 200, right? 2.5 times what equals 200? Because 200 minus 200 is 0. Well, you just divide. 200 divided by 2.5. Move it 1. And the answer, it'll go into that 8 times. It's not 8 plants, but 80. 80 plants. They can buy 80 plants for $200. Any questions? Okay, the last problem. Michael earns $14.50 per day mowing lawns in the summertime. He is saving money to buy a new tablet for school. Oh, the tablet costs $250. Let T represent the number of days he works. I wish they used D. I would like D instead of T, but they use T. Let W be the amount of money he has. Write an equation to represent the total amount of money he will have at the end of T days. So, you're going to have $14.50 times T, and that equals your total amount of money, W. Okay? Now, how much money does he want to earn? $250. So you're going to turn the W into $250. Okay, now we want to figure out T. What's the opposite of multiplying by $14.50? Divide, and we show division in algebra with the bar. T equals how many days? 18 days. When you divide 250 by 14.5, you're going to get 18 days. Any questions? Okay, for your homework, I'll give you another day besides tonight, but just do the home links. You should have your home links books, and if you don't have your home links, it's in your Google Classroom. Click on the word home links.